The Mating School by Jonas Mears, Chapters 1 and 2. Chapter 1, Part 1. "It'll get better," Lily whispered to Genevieve, the newest orphaned shifter. "It's going to be okay," she said, hoping her words sounded believable. "The reality is that it's a tough life as an orphan in the Ajuda pack. It's hard enough losing your parents, but then for your whole life to change so entirely. To become the property of the pack was heartbreaking." "I've heard there are so many chores, though," said Genevieve. "You're right," said Lily. "But there's food and a safe place to sleep." "But I've seen the rooms," said Genevieve. "They're tiny and shared with 2 others." Lily laughed. It was true. "Okay, it sucks. Does that make you feel better?" Genevieve pulled her legs to her chest where they sat in the cold stone servants' passageway. "Not really," she said after a pause. "It's easier to look at the positives," said Lily. "I know it probably doesn't seem like there are any, but it is a place to sleep that's safe and warm, and there is food enough." Genevieve sniffed. Lily remembered what it felt like. It was 13 years ago now when her parents fought to the death defending the pack from rogues. She barely remembered life before it happened. Life when she was free. It's hard enough losing one's parents. But then to have to move and do pack chores, it's like your whole life is ripped away. For most orphans, it's a temporary situation. By the time they turn 15, they shift. Many shift when they're younger. And once they shift, they're able to take different jobs in the pack. They are treated as adults then. But it didn't happen like that for Lily. She'd turned 17 in 2 months, and she'd lost hope that she'd shift at all. She'd never heard of anyone shifting past the age of 15. She was only 4 when her parents died. Could she be sure that her parents even were shifters? "We shouldn't have to work as servants," said Genevieve. "I know it's not right, Genevieve, but that's just how it is right now," said Lily. "But there's nowhere else for us to go." Genevieve sniffed again and wiped her eyes. "I miss my mom," said Genevieve. "I miss mine too," said Lily. "There's not a day that goes by that I don't. But we have to remember we're not alone. 18 other shifters are orphaned, and we're a family. And you're part of that family now. And no matter what happens, we'll still be a family." Lily extended her hand to the young girl sitting before her. Genevieve looked at Lily with a small nod before taking her hand and hugging her. "Okay," said Genevieve. "I'll do my best." "That's all that anyone can ask of you," said Lily, leading the way to the hidden passageway that would take them to the kitchens where piles of plates needed washing. Part 2. Lily was tasked with retrieving the dishes after dinner. It's the worst chore. Much worse than cleaning the beds, which is worse even from toilet duty. It's worse because she has to be there with them, the rest of the pack. All those shifters who are so fixated on rank and superiority. Their demeaning stares made her feel worthless. She didn't feel valued here. Here where she is little more than a servant. It doesn't help that she's of age, but for some reason doesn't shift. It makes her an easy target, a convenient scapegoat, someone whom they can put down so they feel better about themselves. The hardest part is to just keep working. She spent years holding her tongue and couldn't help but wonder how many more she could handle. "One more plate. Just one more plate now," she said silently in her head. "Just one more?" "Has she gone deaf now also?" said Jessica. "She's the type of girl that wears too much makeup and not enough clothing. She's the kind of girl who seems to think she'll impress the alpha by insulting the low-ranking members." Lily caught a glance with the alpha, who was indeed standing close by. He was a good alpha despite the unfortunate rankings and systems of the pack, but those aren't things he can change overnight. "One more plate now, Lily, just one more," she thought to herself. She wasn't sure if Jessica said anything more. Engaged in her work, Lily wouldn't have heard her if she did. Lily didn't want to cause trouble, certainly not tonight after such a long day of work. Right now, she just needed to clear the remaining plates and silverware, and then she could go back to her room. Once there, she could curl up in her safe space and write in her journal. She could allow her stress to ebb away and be left with the peace of the cool night air. Surely that's not too much to ask for. And yet, apparently, it was. "Listen, bitch," said Jessica, who, moments later, grabbed Lily's shoulder. "I was talking to you." "Did you need something, Jessica?" Lily said, feeling resigned. "I'm trying to do my work." But it was the wrong thing to say. Chapter 2. Lily didn't make it back to her room that night. It was unfortunate not just because of her injuries from the fight with Jessica, but because she wasn't able to be there for Genevieve on her first night. She wanted to be there, and as the oldest orphan, she should have been there. She would have been there. Her arm seemed to be sprained. Today was her day for dusting and vacuuming. She wondered how much longer it would take with an injured arm. It was almost 7 already. If she had any hope of finishing before evening, she'd better get going. Especially since she still had to stop by her room for clean clothes. Lily peeled away the medical stickies, monitoring her heart rate. The machine sounded an alarm, but she breathed a sigh of relief when no one came racing in. Granted, she didn't expect it. She had never been much of a priority in this pack, and she didn't really blame them. She couldn't even shift. What was she doing in a pack? She thought about joining the last remaining human city. She had made plans, dreamt of it, to be accepted as an equal, to be valued. But change was hard. Hard to work up the nerve, hard without money. It wasn't paid work here. She was paid with a bed and some food and that's something to be grateful for, she finished in her mind, peering through the door to see if there was anyone outside who might see her leave. But the hallway was deserted. Lily followed the hallway to the south before it opened up to a larger corridor. There were a few turns before she could make it to a secret passageway. She could get to her room this way without anyone but lower-ranking pack members seeing her. They were all so busy with remedial tasks that they didn't have time to bother her. She made it to her room by 7:30, but when she scanned her ID bracelet to get in, the door wouldn't open. Lily walked to the notice board around the corner, near the other orphan rooms, to see if anything new had been posted. But it was the same as yesterday. The schedule for chores, a trading list. Without money, they needed to trade with each other for new things. That's how she got her journal. At the top of the list, Stefan wrote that he had a stuffed pig he was hoping to trade for a bouncy ball or toy car. What a sad situation. A bouncy ball or toy car. Such a small trinket. Such a modest thing for a young kid to desire. Lily had a strong urge to give him both somehow. And he could keep the pig, if only she were able to do so. She tried her door again, but it remained locked. She checked her watch. Another 5 minutes had elapsed. She felt uneasy. She worried about getting behind on her chores. She knocked, but she knew that the others would have left by 6 to get their work done. What was she going to do? "I thought I might find you here," said Jeffrey. He was an older shifter, kinder than most others, but also loyal only to the alpha. Lily wondered if he had been an orphan too once. She felt panic, as if he might call her out for not doing her work. It didn't help that the hallway with the orphans' rooms was a dead end. "Hello, sir," she said, bowing her head in respect. "They told me you'd be in the infirmary." "I'm sorry," Lily said. "I thought I should get to my chores." "You don't have work today," he said. "You were meant to go to the Alpha's office once you were released from the infirmary. But I guess you've gone ahead and released yourself." She bit her lip to stop herself from apologizing again. "But what about my chores?" "They've been reassigned. Now follow me." And she did, even though she didn't want to. Reassigned? She didn't want any of the other orphans to have to pick up her slack. And what about her? Was she moving to a different part of the pack? Would she be kicked out for defending herself when Jessica attacked her last night? Lily was relieved he took her back to the infirmary so she could shower and change. But though she did feel better, it didn't help much with her nerves.